these people so dangerous?
More than 3 months after confessing to murdering his pregnant wife and 2 daughters, Chris Watts is sharing new details about the night he killed them in his home in Frederick. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation says last month in a Wisconsin prison, Watts met with federal and local investigators. According to the CBI, he offered new information about the murders of his pregnant wife Shanann and daughters Bella and Celeste.
On Monday, we have an exclusive interview with Shanann's parents, Sandy and Frank, along with her brother, Frankie Jr. We hear their first reaction to Chris Watts' full confession. I want to focus on loving mother Shanann, her unborn son, Nico, and her little daughters, Bella and Celeste. We want to honor their memory. But today, we're speaking to the legal team for Shanann's parents, Sandy and Frank Rusek, and revealing the devastating details Shanann's mother says she was told about Watts' confession. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about this horrifically tragic case. I've spent a lot of my professional career in deception detection work, and it's really interesting to me that he's now decided to tell the rest of the story. Let me ask you guys first, because you represent Shanann's parents, right?
Right.
How are they doing?
The way it was described to me fairly recently by Sandy was that when this all happened, she felt like her and Frank and Frankie Jr. were lying on their back in the middle of the ocean. Sandy said it felt like they were being pulled under.
This latest development, I understand that he's now sat down for 5+ hour conversation with multiple agencies all at one time and given a detailed confession of what he says actually took place. Is that your understanding of how this information came to be?
That is.
Yeah.
He wants to now talk about what he now says is the truth. I mean, he said what he said was the truth before. This is now his current version of the truth, which may or may not be. What do we know about his motive for doing this? Why he's talking now and why he's saying what he's saying now? I mean, is he trading this for something? Has he gotten jailhouse religion?
We don't believe that he's been offered anything, that there is really anything that could be given to him or traded. So I think it is the jailhouse religion. Our understanding is that he's claiming that he's now remorseful and that he's found God.
Yeah, we've had a few different conversations with him. It's almost eerie how normal some of the conversations go with him, and I don't know exactly what that's about or anything. He's been very forthcoming. It's almost like calling a neighbor.
Right.
Really?
He
really
sounds friendly and almost glad to hear from us, which was surprising.
We have on good authority, reliable authority, and directly from talking with the parents, specifically Sandy, about what he said during that conversation, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Again, I don't want to speculate about where she got the information, but she is quite confident that what she's been told, in fact, is accurate about what he confessed to during that 5 hours.
I think the thing that is probably most important to the family is the nonsense of the idea that Shanann harmed her children in any way is put to bed.
And that was the last position that he had taken confession-wise when he said, "Can I talk to my father?" And that's what he said to the father, correct?
Correct.
So this was what those parents had to hear when he sat down in that room and went through this charade of "Can I speak to my father?" and says, she killed them, she hurt them. And those parents had to sit there with the entire world hearing this son of a bitch say that their daughter murdered her 2 children.
They 100% know their daughter was not ever capable of hurting those kids and would never do that. But now to hear him admit it is important to them. And again, to be clear, they didn't actually hear it from his mouth yet. They have not heard the tape. But to have been told that that is part of what this conversation was about with Chris, I think it is a huge relief to them.
What has she told you he has confessed to now that contradicts that ridiculous lie?
She called me up, we talked about it, and the night in question, Shanann came home. She and Chris got into a fight. They had made up, they were getting along quite well. Later on, they got into a fight again. In that fight, he essentially confessed to having an affair, that he wanted a divorce, that it was pretty much over between them. And she had said something to the effect of, well, you're not going to see the kids again. As a consequence of that conversation, he strangled her to death.
They have this argument, and she threatens you're not going to see the children again, so he attacks and kills her. Did Bella witness any of that?
Coming up.
Bella walked in and asked, what are you doing with Mommy? And what he said was that Mommy is sick and we need to take her to the hospital.
And then Bella's last words.
Bella said, please, Daddy, do not do to me what you just did to Cece.